Florida Panthers. They're now officially tied in the President's Trophy race with the Colorado Avalanche, although the Avs do technically have a game in hand. But what I'm curious about is, do you consider what Florida doing to be more impressive than the Avalanche, considering the division that the Cats are playing in?
Yeah, it's Atlantic stuff. No doubt about it. I wonder how much what we're seeing from the Florida Panthers is a reaction to them having sand kicked in their face for so many years. I mean, the Florida Panthers have been, the butt of a lot of jokes for a long time, whether it's attendance or performance, or everybody wants to play in Florida, but no one wants to play in the Panthers. Ha 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 ha. Like all that stuff that they've heard for so long. I wonder if this is just partially a reaction to that. Like, this is a team that puts up 6-7 goals on the regular. This is a team that doesn't take the foot off. And we've seen this before from teams that finally start to actualize. Like, you look at teams, I think, the way you look at players. And what is it? Aristotle used to say, things exist in two states, potentiality and actuality. And I think you can say that about teams. Like, for the longest time now, we've looked at Florida and there's like, okay, the potential is there. The potential is there. And now that they've actualized, when you first get that taste of it, it has to be seductive, and it has to. I mean, it's a situation, I think, for the Florida Panthers where they've been the butt of the jokes for a long time, and now they're going to stick it to everybody else. So there's no idea that we're gonna pace ourselves through a season. We're gonna sprint through the season. Why? Because we can. I look at veteran teams. Like, I look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, for example. They are pacing themselves through a season. Now, Tampa didn't used to pace themselves through a season.
Nope.
And where did that get them in the playoffs? Out 4 straight after they played one period of hockey against the Columbus Blue Jackets. I understand the motivation for the Florida Panthers. I understand the idea of wanting to win every game by a margin of 6. I understand all of that. I just don't know what's going to happen here in playoffs. Whether if you have enough juice left after you've done this. Like, I'm much more in tune with the team that says this is 82 games. There's going to be some tough nights. There's going to be some nights where you're not feeling it. I know fans hate to hear that I'm going to take the foot off the pedal for a couple of games here, but 82 games is long, and you got to save something for the playoffs. That would be like, listen, Dylan, you're right. It's super impressive. I just don't know what's going to happen come playoff time. I like the team that paces itself.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I thought the Toronto Maple Leafs were a team that was pacing itself last night. They looked very much like a team. Seriously. They looked very much like a team that said, we are where we are. We're probably not moving up. We're probably not moving down.
I just wanted to see Matthews get in the post-game interview and say, we meant to do that.
Yeah. No, but they looked like that. But you bring up a good point, Jeff. And I think too, like, I don't know why it is, but it just seems to me that every team that follows this kind of pattern has to get that kick in the pills in the first round before they realize what it takes to get beyond the first round and to go on a run. And, we've seen it so many times. We saw it with Tampa. We saw it with we saw it with Washington for so many years. We saw it, so many times. These teams, they have to get that one sort of gut check, reality, just excruciating blow in the playoffs to realize, okay, well, it is a different game in the playoffs, and we, like you say, we do have to pace ourselves here, and I could see that happening. I could see the Florida Panthers getting all the regular season awards, and maybe, being out in the second round. It's quite possible.
I think that extends to players as well, Kenny. I don't think that's just exclusive to teams. I think that there's one Hall of Famer that I talked to years ago who said at the beginning of the season, he would go up to his coach and say the same thing. And this is guys like obviously top dog on his team, and say, look, 30 games of the season, I'm going to look like a Hall of Famer. I'm going to be first star, and you're going to look at me and go, wow, this guy's one of the best players, if not the best player in the game, period. There'll be 30 other games where you can't find me. You can find me on the game sheet, but you're probably not going to be able to find me. And he said, for the rest of the other games, I'm just going to see how I feel that day. Now, as a fan, you hate to hear it, but I think as someone who observes a game and understands like how long 82 games is, don't you kind of understand it? Yeah. Like, don't you get that? Like, can you imagine how much do you feel if you go game 7 82 times? And isn't that an unreal expectation? that we have of players. And I think it's an unreal expectation that we should have as teams. And to the point about the Maple Leafs and the Buffalo Sabres too, I think the only motivation would have been, for the Toronto Maple Leafs is, listen, this is something that, going back to the era of, Don Edwards and Bob Sauve with the Buffalo Sabres. This team, the Buffalo Sabres, have always owned the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? French connection up against, the Sittler line, and doesn't matter. Like, it has been going on forever. It's Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, and it's completely impervious to where the teams are. Like,
totally.
The Sabres could be terrible. The Sabres could be great. The Sabres could be okay. They still kick the Leafs' ass. Like, it's just amazing how they seem to own this team, and they owned them this year. I mean, you could argue that the reason why the Leafs are kind of still jockeying for home ice is because of how they played against Buffalo this year. If they had taken care of business in those games, they'd be chasing Florida for first, not sort of hanging on for second.
A couple weeks ago, I was in Florida, West Palm at the GM meetings, and talked to Dubas. And one of the things we talked about was, like, this idea, like, we don't understand, like, you can go in and beat Florida, Tampa, Colorado, like, beat the heavyweight teams, and then Arizona comes into town. Sure, Vejmelka stands on his head, but why does a team struggle? And Dubas was like, this is the ultimate frustration for us. Like, we have a hard time getting up for teams that are lower than us in the standings or non-playoff teams. And I'm not sure how to react to that, to be honest with you, because part of me understands that. Part of me will look at that and say, well, come playoff time, there's not going to be any non-playoff teams that you face. So why should it really matter, as long as you can get up for the big name teams? Like, not every team has to be the 77 Habs here and just, run through the NHL season like a hog in the truffles. Like, it's okay if you lose to a bottom feeding team, I guess, as long as you put it up against the top dogs.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the Florida Panthers right now are sitting on an 8-game win streak.
Yep.
Where they've beat teams both good and bad. And to your point, I agree with everything that you're saying, but I'd still rather a team just, win all the time, ideally, if that's an option.
Habs, I mean, what's the closest thing we've seen to a perfect team? That Montreal Canadiens squad.
Yeah.
Like, that was, into the playoffs as well. Yeah, but I mean, like, we run the table in the regular season and then just go lawnmower through the playoffs.
Yeah.
Man, that's hard.
It's
tough.
It really is.
It's really tough.
Yeah. I mean, even the Oiler teams, the dynasty teams, they pissed themselves.
Well, and they also got that kick in the pills at the beginning.
Yes, that's right. That's that we talk about. Yeah, exactly.